Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm in a bit of a different car tonight. I'm in a courtesy car, but we've got something really exciting here. Tonight we get to check out the brand new GT3 RS Porsche, I should have mentioned. It's the only one in New Zealand currently, and yeah, this thing is amazing. I've been dying to see one of these in person. So these are the ones with the DRS opening rear wing. Can't remember the model number. All I know is it's a GT3 RS. Could be like 917 or 911. Porsche's so many 9 something numbers that it gets a bit confusing sometimes, but hopefully I'll be able to get some good footage. So we are getting taken around the car by some Porsche engineers, from what I believe. So this has been hosted tonight by Giltrap Porsche, pretty much the premier Porsche importers and dealership in New Zealand. So this is really exciting. We've got some, yeah, like I said, some guys from Porsche here to talk to us about the car. I'll see how much footage I can get of them talking about it, and yeah, let's go have a look at the car. So when I turned up to the workshop, it wasn't actually just the GT3 RS that we got to look at. They had some GT3 Cup Cars, so here's one of them now. So we actually got to have a look inside this one properly. They had it turned on. So they had the fully carbon fiber door panels, so these were getting kitted out at the moment for customers. It's quite cool getting to see all the proper race car dashboard, not something that you get to see every day. The interior was fully stripped out from how they come from factory. So Porsche actually makes these from factory for customers, so these were all being shipped out about a week after this video was recorded. So that little hatch on the top there, that's an emergency exit, so all of the Cup cars need to have one of those. So in total there was about 4 Cup cars in various stages of undress. This one was on the floor, it had its bonnet off, and I'm not too sure what that part there is in the centre. I mean, it could be like an intake plenum or something. Someone who knows more about cars would probably have a better answer than me. There's a bit of the ECU, some of the wiring going on in the car. The cage has been put in. Then around the rear, so these ones had a different rear wing to the GT3 RS. The RS has the DRS opening rear wing, and these ones had a fixed wing. Must be as part of the regulation for the Cup series. Having another look in the inside, this one was turned off, obviously, since it's not lit up like a Christmas tree. Another cool fact about all these GT3 Cup cars is that they're all made on the same assembly lines as the standard road car. They just get pulled apart by Porsche at a later date. So here's a closer look at the rear wing. You see that they allow for some adjustments, so you can tune the angle and whatnot, but these had a little lip on the end, so still carbon fiber, the rear wing itself, apart from the brackets that hold it onto the car. So here's one of the other cars that was lifted a bit up on the hoist. So that's the brake pads on the rear. They were absolutely massive, those things. It's cool getting to see some of the suspension up close, and underneath as well is the part of the exhaust system. It was quite impressive, all the aero that goes on behind the brakes. You get to see that a little bit later on in the video. And some of the aero on the front of the car, a little bit different to the RS. So here was one that's a little bit higher up. That's how they actually mounted the boot onto the wing, so that way you can work on the back of the car and still have it in a safe location, not getting knocked around or anything. So that was quite cool. So here we've got more of the underneath of the car, the exhaust system, the mufflers and everything. It was really cool getting to see how intricate the pipework is underneath. All the heat shielding, because of how hot that exhaust must get if you're, you know, flooring it around the racetrack or even on the road.
Right, and I can disconnect it just like that. You know, like that's a hell of a lot easier than you know, fighting with your road car stuff. You know, get this gearbox out. We're doing these gearboxes now. By the end of the week, I think we found a couple. It was all the floor off, gearbox out, torque the bolts that we needed to torque, put the whole thing back together.
So simple, right?
So easy. You can see how much more
Because
space.
it's designed to do at the track, right? If you have something go wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to do it laying on my back on your jack spot. Your jack spot.
Yeah.
You can.
Well, it's not that hard.
So the guy talking before about the car is Aaron. He is the after sales manager for Porsche. He's the one who organised this for us to attend, so massive thank you to him. He knows so much about these cars. So here we get to see a bit more behind the brake calipers and everything themselves. So you got so much plastic leading the hot air away from the brake underneath the car, and you know, helping with the aerodynamics of everything and the cooling. It's just nuts, the amount of thought that goes into these cars, of where the air goes, how everything's positioned. So here we have the GT3 RS. So this was the first one here in New Zealand. This one's actually owned by Porsche. This is their demo car that they take around to all the car shows and everything. My favorite feature on this car is the DRS opening rear wing. I'm such a massive Formula 1 fan, and it was so awesome to finally see that adapted to a road car. I mean, just the carbon finish on that is amazing. You know, the hydraulics that they use to open it up. It's just such a stunning looking car. The blue as well is just absolutely amazing. I'm just absolutely in love with this car. So this one was the Weissag edition of the RS, so that costs a little bit more. You get a half cage. I think it's a carbon fiber half cage as well, so it's basically a weight reduced version of the GT3 RS. Nice few little hood vents and everything. Not that they need to keep the engine cool in there because it's obviously in the rear, but yeah, even just the aero ducts around the wheel to help the air flow out and create downforce and just work its magic. Just the car is so stylish in every single way. It just looks absolutely beautiful in the blue and the black. So here's the inside of the car. Obviously a lot more in it rather than the Cup cars. Carbon fiber trim interior. It just looks gorgeous, you know. You can see Weissag on the seats, and they've got the carbon half cage in there.
Racing around the world. So effectively, as it sits now, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 Carrera Cup series around the world, where this is just one make, so nothing but Carrera Cup cars on the track at the same time. The highest level of this is the Porsche Super Cup that you may see that supports all the Formula 1 races. So they started out with 964 Cup cars, and now this is at the latest version of 992. So they're pretty low production. Currently, a couple hundred of these get made every year. And so us not having a priority Carrera Cup series, they don't really prioritize production for markets like us, but we managed to secure 5 cars this year that have now all been customer sold, and will be racing at a racetrack near you probably in the next couple of weeks, some of them. And then obviously they'll race in a few different series around New Zealand.
And are they all spoken for?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
This lot is all, so sorry, put your wallets away. No, they are all customer sold at this stage, so they'll actually start getting picked up from tomorrow. One of them has already escaped. We've got 4 left here that'll go. So the reason we have them here is they arrived in need of some factory updates that had come out from the time they were produced to the time they arrived here in New Zealand. So we spent a week doing the preparation, doing the updates, etc. So some of the key specs on this car. So it is based off of the GT3 road car. So this is actually the GT3 RS. So this isn't the base for this car. It's very similar, but it is a little bit different. We'll talk about that in a minute. The GT3 Cup car is a homologated version of the GT3 road car, but with all the racing, kind of outfit. So you've got different shocks. Suspension is, a lot largely solid mounted, so it's lost all of the bushings and things like that. It's got obviously all the data logging capabilities. So it's got a Cosworth data logging system in it. It's got completely different control units and things like that. It's got a sequential gearbox, so like a motorcycle style dog type box. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and back. Still has a clutch, but the clutch is really only used for taking them off. Once you're driving, you're just shifting on the paddles. It's about 510 horsepower, this car, and weighs about 1,260 kgs. Fun fact with that, what I found really surprising is it's still less than 200 kgs lighter than this thing, which is a real testament to how light this car actually is.
Wow.
Being a fully outfitted road car with all of the, all of the things.
200 kgs between them.
Yes. So 1450, 1260. So pretty close, really, given that this is a fully outfitted road car, and you can see how stripped out this thing is. It has no insulation, no carpet, no seats, none of the stuff that this thing has to be a homologated road car. But all in all, purpose-built race car, turnkey, ready to go. Set you back, somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 to $600,000. So they're not cheap. Yeah, bargain. Yes, good deal. But very cool cars. So they're produced on the normal production line, just like any other Porsche, and then they get pulled off to the side to a substation that they then get kind of cupified, let's say.
So what are the things that are in common between this and the GT3? What would you say?
So it's the whole basis of the car is the same, right? Like the suspension and everything, let's say, for the most part is the same. The shocks, the dampers themselves are different, but the
suspension points,
the design, yes, the pickup points, the design of the suspension is the same. Like these will have solid mounts in a lot of these places where the road car would have rubber mounts for a little more compliance. So that's some of the key differences, but really, I mean, this very much is the road car.
How about the engine?
The engine is identical to the road car.
Is that right?
Yes, so they are in a little bit of a detuned state, so this one makes a little bit different horsepower comparing to this. So basically, this car and this car, the engine is not vastly different. This car just makes a little bit more power. Okay. So 525 horsepower on this car versus 510.
We're jumping ahead a little bit from this car, but why would they not put the same power rating in that car as this car?
Well, they obviously need to leave room to do the big monster GT3 RS cars. So this isn't, this car isn't really geared towards the one make series and the racing. This is just a series production car that's kind of like on the next level.
But more horsepower.
Yes, more power, but obviously the big thing with this car that you can see is all of the aero. So this car is designed to be a highly aerodynamic machine. So you have the...
In this car, would you be allowed to tweak this motor to make it like this motor?
Yeah. No. Not in the series that it's in. So this series is actually quite stringent with all of the rules and regulations. The engines are sealed, the gearboxes are sealed, and if you poke your nose around here, you'll actually see the factory seals on the engines and the gearboxes. So they should theoretically all be within a very, very small fraction of horsepower difference. And they're not allowed to, the teams around the world are not allowed to do any sort of changes or work. There's even in the Cup Series, they have ways of policing the ECUs to ensure that they're not modified, things like this. So they're pretty stringent. We try to also keep them. Over the years, you see some of the older Cup cars that we have here. We've actually got somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 active Cup cars in New Zealand from all of the generations. So we've got quite a few, really, given the small population in New Zealand. There's a hell of a lot of Cup cars that are racing here, and that's probably one of the reasons Porsche Motorsport has recognized us and offered some of the cars that we are able to get, because they do recognize how much of a passion for motorsport and Porsche Motorsport in particular that we have here. So all in all, very cool cars. Move on to the road car just quickly. Key differences: aero, lots and lots of aero, dynamic aero in the rear, so the spoiler actually moves. I've got it positioned right now in the full aero mode, but normal driving it's actually open. So it's similar to what you see in Formula One with the DRS. You can actually open the spoiler and increase your top speed. But ideally,
if you need to overtake someone,
yes, absolutely. On the motorway, go. You've noticed there's a heck of a lot of buttons and knobs on the steering wheel. So this has got active suspension that you can control. So you can control compression and rebound settings on the suspension via the steering wheel. You can control the differentials via the steering wheel. So you control obviously the engine map through the steering wheel as well. So there's a heck of a lot of stuff that you can play with on this car. Very, very, very cool car. Again,
So what are the differential changes you can do?
So it basically changes like the lockup settings in the diff. So for track use, let's say, excuse me, for track use, you can have like a tighter diff, let's say, you know, depending on the track you're on, with slow corners, fast corners, etc. You can play around with that. I personally think it'll be really interesting to see how people go with not just tuning themselves into a hole when you give them all these options to play with buttons. You know?
Do they have a reset button?
Yeah. It's like a factory reset. Yeah, but it is, and have a look at the steering wheel when you poke your head in there. But there's a heck of a lot of stuff to turn and twist and push. So it's quite busy, but very, very, very cool. The other interesting thing on this car versus this car is a single center radiator. You saw me open the bonnet maybe a minute ago showing off, because it's a bit comical when you open the bonnet on this, there's really nothing underneath. It's just a big bit of plastic and the outlets from the radiator. There's actually nowhere to put a handbag or any kind of thing in here at all. In fact, the toolkit even goes in the glove box, so you don't need to get the glove box. So don't plan on, I mean, actually, even if you're driving to the track, don't take a passenger, because I don't know where you're going to take your helmet. You have to wear your helmet to the track with this one. There's not a lot of room, especially with the Visoc package. It has a carbon fiber cage in the back. And so there's not a lot of room to stick anything back there as well. So
Alright everyone, well I really hope that you enjoyed that. It was really great getting to talk to Aaron about the GT3 RS and the other GT3 Cup cars that they have there. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this sort of thing. It'll be cool to be able to do more of these. The guys from Porsche are absolutely amazing, you know. They put on an awesome evening for us. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, but most importantly as well, thank you very much to Aaron for putting this on. It's absolutely outstanding to get to see these cars up close and get to learn all about all the little different intricacies and everything that goes into designing these cars. So thank you very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. It really helps us out on the channel. Same with the socials, go follow us on there, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.